2 on TSN 690. Welcome back to a special edition or special hour of Game Points, a baseball special. In studio, we have Ray Callari, technical director of the NDG Lynx and a scout for the Giants. We have Alex Agostino from Baseball Quebec and from the Philadelphia Phillies. And we're talking some baseball here until the top of the hour. Mo Khan's also in studio, still ogling Ray Callari's rings. What's going on? He had me take a picture of himself wearing the rings.
The reason why is that now I can pretend to be a baseball player on F1 weekend. But yeah, I didn't want to bring my rings out to St. Lawrence, and I won 2 rings.
I've never seen you hold a baseball bat.
I can hit a ball, my friend.
Really?
I can hit a ball.
Like a gangly sort of Richie Sexton
Not
kind of stance?
I'm bigger than Sexton, my friend.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. I've never seen you hold
I have a
baseball bat.
Darren Erstad-like to my ability here.
That's very specific.
That's a first round draft pick, by the way.
All right. We'll see how that holds up. So both of you have been involved in getting some players into the minor league system of the Phillies, of the Giants. You've both had some success at different levels. Alex, I was curious to hear what you were talking about in terms of your involvement with Baseball Quebec and the different languages clinics. Where does your work with them take you? What do you do with them?
Well, it's been different. I came back in 2006 when the Marlins basically cut my position in Canada, and I started working with the Phillies. And I came back when Baseball Quebec was at a dead standpoint, going from like close to 40,000 kids down to like maybe 12, 13,000.
Wow.
They came back strong, and we just went around and started, spreading the news that baseball's not dead. The Expos are gone, but the game is still the same game. And basically, we started working with high school programs where we only had 3 about 8 years ago, one in Montreal, one in Three Rivers, one in Quebec, who were doing a good job. I mean, Russell Martin, when he finished his apprenticeship with the NDG, went to a Sport Ed program, then came and worked out at the academy, and he got drafted by the Expos. I drafted Russell in the year 2000 as a 17-year-old, and our bosses with the Expos thought that he was more of a college player. I mean, they were wrong. Russell proved them wrong, and he became a great big leaguer. But today we're close to 20 high school programs, close to 600 kids that are, going to school in the morning, training in the afternoon. So we're getting back to a point. We're still far. We're about 24,000 kids registered. And that doesn't count all the kids playing, with NDG, with Little League Baseball, because it's different affiliations. Mm-hmm. But there's still kids playing ball. So I'm positive we're close to about 28,000. And that's a pretty good, when everybody was talking bad about the game. But basically, it was about the professional game, not about the Little League game. So right now, Baseball Quebec's doing a lot of caravans for free across the province, getting kids to come in. There's a program called Rally Cap from 4 to 7 years old where it's a little bit like the hockey where you don't have to really play games. You're mostly out there just learning the skills and fundamentals. What are the first 3 letters? F-U-N, fun. Have fun with it. Russell Martin sent a message via Facebook to all young kids in baseball. Have fun. Wishing them well. So right now it's just to go out in the different regions and make sure that the volunteers are well equipped to help the young kids, because you know what? It's a tough sport. Anybody who's played here, maybe Mo never struggled, with all his talent, but I mean, in our situation, everybody struggles in this game. It's a tough game where today kids, everybody wants to go fast. It could be a slow-paced game until you play, and then everything goes fast when the games start. But you know what? I tell kids, play for yourself, compete for your team. That's the beauty about baseball, because when you're up to bat, nobody can take your place. A little bit like a goalie in hockey. When he gives up the bad goal, you can't look around. The forward didn't back check. Second baseman drops a ball. You look silly at 8 years old. Who wants to look bad? So it's a tough sport. It's also a sport where parents need to be involved. Yeah. Nothing against soccer. I played in my young time. My kids played. It was fun to watch. It was fun to play. But it's a lot easier to drop your kid off at the park, go get your Tim Hortons, and watch them run around, not touch the ball for an hour, and then you go home because we played and nobody wins, nobody loses, nobody cares. But it's easy. So, to me, baseball is not easy, and that's the challenge, to get better athletes to play at 12, 13. Because if you get good athletes between the age of 10 and 12, 13 to at least play it, then when they get to that different age, 14, 15, they decide to go to hockey or something else. 15, you come back. You have the basic motor skills. If you never play, all of a sudden you start playing at 16, 17, it's just too hard. It's something that, you take a baseball player, go ask him to kick a baseball, kick a soccer, you can do it. Ask a soccer player who's never thrown a ball to throw a ball or swing a bat. It is not something that's easy. It looks easy on TV, but it isn't. And sometimes, because it's a game of failure, mommies and daddies today struggle to watch their kids fail on the field instead of making it a learning experience. But you know what? The kids who are playing, the kids who are coming back, the parents who are coming back to coach, I see a lot of good thing. Like we talked about earlier, we just need now the better athlete. The kid who's playing basketball and football today, who didn't play back then, we need them to play multiple sports so they make them better, be it basketball, football, hockey, or baseball, and they make the right choice down the road.
And Ray, your work with NDG, I was registering my kid, in April at some point. I didn't realize in that very same school that you guys had a program that was indoors as well. And you were there, overseeing a couple of pitchers that were working with NDG. And despite the fact that you have territorial limitations as to where the players can come from, it seems like you have a steady, eager following of kids that want to learn, and not just outdoors between May and August, that these guys are there, all year round or at least beyond that time frame.
Yeah, we go basically after the season's over, a little bit of snow on the ground, we go in the gym from, I believe it's 10 o'clock to about 3 o'clock, and it's free. Anybody, we've taken kids, there's kids from Valleyfield that came down, there's kids from Cornwall that came down. Anybody, we don't refuse anybody. And they come down and they play and they work hard. And not really, it's just four walls and just get going. And there's kids from 8 years old up to 18 years old. And like I said, it's free. Anybody can come in. We don't refuse anybody. It's like a homeless shelter, I guess. But
what if Mo walks in? Well, he's a little older. He's out of that time, out of that group. But maybe if he's a righty. But if he was a lefty, maybe it's timeless, right? You're going to be a 40-year-old lefty.
Yeah, we don't, like I said, we don't refuse anybody. Anybody can come work out. We've had some kids from McGill that came worked out a couple of years ago, and the guys do a great job. The coaches get involved, and that's what we want, especially with the Lynx programs. That's why I think that teams in the Lynx, and you're not supposed to, in Little League, you're not supposed to really make teams before June 15th, but that's technically, but we, basically a kid that works out from November to March or April indoors and then goes outdoors, he's a little bit ahead of the game, and that's what it is. And going to the comparison of what Alex said as far as in school-wise, the thing I like to see in the future in Quebec and all over Canada is the organizations run their sports. So there is no compromise. Like to put a parent to the test and say, at 9, 10 years old, you got to play hockey 365 days a year. To me, I think you're developing a hockey player, not necessarily an athlete. Some people may disagree, but in high school, and I played in high school in the United States, in upstate New York.
And you played hockey at a decent caliber level.
No,
as well.
yeah, in ball hockey I played. I wasn't that good of a skater, but Alex could skate.
But you represented your country in hockey.
Yeah, in ball hockey.
Yeah.
In ball hockey I did, but that's because we played in the streets. That's because we played with the older guys. You'd get body checked, but I remember playing with my brother's friends. They'd body check you. They were 5 years older. They'd body check you. Get up, or else you can't play. You know what I mean? And that's, but that's what I'm saying. Like in the infrastructure that's in the United States, the problem that their good problem is the schools control the sports. It's if a kid goes in and plays football, some schools, especially the prep schools, want you to play not one, not two, maybe 3 sports to keep you occupied. So basically, what you're doing, and I remember the minute the football players run, those brothers are in the track. They're running the track, an indoor track. There's no chance that guys taking off. And I remember we had 3-sport guys. Bubba Starling with Kansas City was a 3-sport guy. Dave Winfield back in the days when he got drafted in, I think, 3 or 4 sports. Yeah. 3 sports. These are athletes. And I think you look at a guy like Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders. These are athletes. And
Brian Jordan,
a lot of guys, Erstad. But also I want to tell you, this is what they tell us as a scout. When all else is equal, take the better athlete.
Right.
When all the stats, when all the at bats, when all they run the same.
The numbers, yeah.
Who's the better athlete? Because I think tools make numbers. Numbers don't make tools.
That's it. And that's what we were talking about. And Bob Elliott said it, where in the States, they have a little more passion for that, where the kid can play, even though they're starting with a lot of travel baseball in the States, because you know what? It all comes down to money. I start a team, and I call it Elite Travel AAA. Parents believe that they'll pay more money and it helps out. But if it's in the schools like they have, in your high school where you play a fall sport, you play a winter sport, you play a spring sport, and you can decide as you get older, like at 17, 18, but not at 12. That is our biggest drawback. There's two things in Quebec that we need to do a better job of, is to get the better athlete to play more sports and have better infrastructures. We go across North America, a lot in the East and in Canada. The infrastructures, they're just not there in our high schools. They're not there, and the cities do not want to, spend the money to build it. It's either private things like Catalonia out in Lachine that do a good job, and luckily, soccer has the Saputo family. If baseball would have a family like that, we'd be in a way better situation. And good for soccer and good for the Saputo family. I lift my hat to them. They have done a tremendous job, because if it's not for them,
making the impact a nonprofit. I mean,
do you think we'd have the impact or a stadium if it wasn't for that family?
Yep.
No way. There wouldn't be any soccer. So we would need a Jean Coutu, something like that, a big local Quebec name, English, French, Italian, I don't care, but to do that. And they've never, the only name was the Bronfmans. They were unbelievable. Unfortunately, they moved on.
All right, it's Game Points here on TSN 690.